Okay, so this is just a little visit to the Garden of the Gods Park, just outside of Colorado Springs, to the northwest slightly, mostly north, slightly west. Pulling into the parking lot here. We're a little bit early. The visiting center is not quite open yet, but we do have access. The people that are there do have access to the balcony, and so these shots are from the balcony at the visitor center, showing you some of the outcroppings of this particular park. That includes even being able to see one of the unique structures that are somewhat famous for this area, and it's the kissing camels. And of course we're also seeing how other hills look compared to the outcroppings. You see some limestone there. And these are the, basically the foothills of the Rockies. So as we come into the park, we do see some of the outcroppings of a little bit closer. And we notice that they are different colors. There are white sandstone outcroppings and reddish pink sandstone. I believe the white sandstone you see there just off to the left slightly as we went by, it has more limestone in it than this. And then you can see some spires right here. Kind of a whitish color to those. Whitish gray. So that's a different kind of sand than this red sand, and that means it came in at a different time, or was developed or turned into sandstone at a different time. This rock, the big rock, shows you the different ways that erosion is attacking it. And you can see the pockets from freeze-thaw, water, ice, the shaling off through water and wind on the right hand side, and then up above you'll see more of effect of wind erosion. Maybe some glacial from way back. Might be this is some pretty old rock, so there might be some glacial rubbing here as well, or not glacial but necessarily ice, snow buildup, depending. I don't know. I'm not a geologist. I do know that I wish I had brought a better camera. I wish I had a better camera to take with me on this trip. Something I could zoom in on with. You can see the hills in the back there. That's part of that same ridge line that these outcroppings are part of. Now these outcroppings are very interesting. There are two faults that converge in this area: the Ute Trail Fault and the Rampart Range Fault come into this area. These faults were formed as the uplift for the Rocky Mountains. The last Rocky Mountain uplift occurred. I tried to get some better pictures of the spires and realized that the lighting really wasn't very good with the sunlight being so low. Still, it's early in the morning. I think no later than 9, but the sun is still not up that high. And I tried to get a better shot here on the spire, but it ended up being just a dark shadow. But you can see some of the structures a little bit different, but it's not that easy to see. Apologize for that. So we're going to swing around the backside and take a look at other features going on this part of the loop road. So where was I? Oh yeah, so these faults had to take up, they eased some of the pressure that developed by the mountain building stresses, and they had to push some of their own, do some of their own pushing as a result. And when that happened, it took this long established sedimentary layers and curled them almost to a 90-degree stance. Then the erosion, of course, occurred, and the sandstone became exposed, similar to how the rocks on Pikes Peak are exposed. Now, there are areas to the north, and there's some areas to the east, and that show some of the original layering of this sedimentary collections, and that they happened at different times, and you can see they happened at different levels. Why? Well, after we get through this stop, I'll explain why. Okay, so we have a white sandstone on the right and the red sandstone on the left. The red sandstone, the Lyons sandstone, discovered originally by Lyons, Colorado. That's why that structure is very similar along this hogback. So, where was I? We were talking about the different layers and when this all occurred. So they have evidence that there have been 3 lifts of granite-like material over the history of the world, of the earth, and there have been 3 events of sedimentary layering. And there are areas around Colorado Springs where you can see the sedimentary areas are being sloped in one direction, and then there's a buildup on top that slopes from another direction. So it's cross-sloped in areas, and it's mixed with shale, limestone, 3 or 4 different kinds of sandstone. Some sandstone came from sand dunes, some of the sandstone came from volcanic activity, some sandstone came from a mixture of sand dunes and maritime limestone, so you get more whites like you do on the left there. And this is all evident in this park and around the park area. So we'll go around the Big Red Rock again, and it's just to the left. And as we go around that big rock, being only it's 300 feet tall, but below it sits on Pikes Peak granite, and its depth is somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 feet deep below the surface of the land as it sits right now. So the shale and the other materials that are on top of this have been eroded and pushed to the east primarily. And if you look in this, as we go past, you saw some limestone to the right in front of us there. It's a little bit there. To the right of us here is more limestone than it is sandstone. And the farther west you get, the more limestone you get because of how long this area was underwater before it got lifted. Being pushed up so much that it pops these outcroppings at 90 degrees almost is incredible. So now we've gone around the loop road. We're going to go to the southern end of the park, and there are some interesting structures to see down there. But coffee break. Now we're back on the road. So what makes sandstone red? Well, feldspar. So that gives you a pretty good idea there is some volcanic activity going on. Also iron. Well, there's iron in it, and there's also pink granite, not pink granite, but pink quartz. And it's held together by what, dolomite, I think. I think that's dolomite-like structures are in this area. So, I wonder if he was coming out of a parking area. Not sure where he was. There's a road along here, a dirt road, that runs for 60 miles. It's called the Rampart Range Road. And from what I understand, it is something to enjoy. It's quite an interesting ride and a nice hiking, picnic area, things of that. But 60 miles long of dirt road, heading you back off into the bush, as they say, maybe. And I think that's the road right there. If I've ever visit this again, I'm gonna go probably take that road. It probably would be fun. I'd like to go back. I really would like to go back. So we're pulling into the balanced rock area. Sandstone that has been eroded. It's mostly wind. This is mostly wind. There is some glacial erosion here. As you can see, you see some of the angled layering right there of sedimentary, and you can also see the angles here. If you look closely, as they slope upwards. Of course, they were lifted, but there's also mixtures. See the different rock between the rock on top and the rock below. There's limestone inclusion in that other area, and that you can see that looks like it's been built by flow of water, or sand dunes, one of the two. Hard to tell. I'm not a geologist. There is a lot to this. There was in the paper I was reading. There seemed to be quite a bit of discussion about, hey, okay, how was this actually formed? But it's interesting when you get to look at some of the other pictures of the area and you see the cross forming, where it is formed at one angle and then the lift happened or something happened and it gets formed at another angle. I don't know. It's just rocks, but it's kind of neat when you think about how many years and the pressures it took to build that. So I hope you enjoyed this. It was fun for me. Thanks for watching.